Hello, guten Tag. My name is Jay Sayed. I go by Jay. A lot of my friends call me Critter, which is a nickname I've had since college. I heard about Miami Ad School from a couple industry books while I was researching the ad industry to see if it was going to be a good fit. It was something I wanted to do, and it comes highly recommended. Obviously, they have a great track record, and so I'm giving it a shot to see if I have a chance to be a part of the program. I'm applying to the copywriting program because although right now it's kind of a toss-up for me between writing and art direction. Writing is definitely where my background is in. It's a lot of what I do now. It's a lot of what I've done in the past. Help people write their papers. I thought I got in trouble for one time, but the teacher who caught me writing other people's papers told me that is something that I should pursue. Let's see, I've normally worked in business administration. I've done traveling for business, negotiations, product design development, and then the office stuff too, sales, and I also did. I was working in a French restaurant for a while in New York. I got to meet a lot of cool people through that. I also thought I was going to be a diplomat, as I speak 7 languages. I'm fluent in French, Italian, English. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Do some Spanish and Japanese and Bengali and Arabic. I really wanted to incorporate that and my interest in international politics and world geography and cultural geography, cultural anthropology, all that stuff. Get all of that together into one thing. And I thought that's what I wanted to do back then, but now I'm kind of realizing, I took the test and I passed it, and it's one of the hardest tests in the U.S. But after receiving the results, it came at a time when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I figured, no, maybe I want to do something a little bit different, where I can be a little bit more creative and have a little bit more freedom in what I do. Probably a lot more fun, to be honest. I like Miami Ad School's international scope, the quality of their work. The fact that they're an idea school that focuses on pop culture is great. And then on top of everything, the biggest thing was the responsiveness of the staff. Nicholas got back to me within 2 hours of me requesting information on the school. That's unbelievable. It's one thing if it's during the weekday, but he did that on the weekend. And then Susan has been very helpful, answering all of my annoying questions. My hobbies: I enjoy photography and filmmaking. Painting, drawing, languages, reading movies, traveling. The biggest thing, I've also been learning to write code, but the biggest thing has been meeting people. I love that. Every day, whenever I can meet somebody, that's the coolest thing to me. Listening to them and understanding where they're coming from, who they are, or, what makes them tick. Let's see, my favorite movies. So my favorite genres are French New Wave, Italian Neorealism. Those two, post-war, they reflect the economic conditions of the time, and let's say French New Wave is less wordy than American films at the time, but more expressive, and they're really playing around with the editing and the framing of the shots and everything, and the directors, they're auteurs, they're involved in every aspect of the films, not just directing it and that's it, and leaving the rest of it to other people. A Bout de Souffle, Alphaville, Masculine Feminine, and Jules Egime are great. And then German Expressionism, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, M, and then Metropolis, really show the angst of the situation, whether it's a working class or a murderer or a criminal puppeteer. Spaghetti westerns are fascinating to me because they're a mix of samurai films and old westerns. They're made in Italy about American history and hyper stylized, and end up coming back to America and end up being very influential. That's crazy to me, because it's coming from outside back in. But they are probably some of my favorite movies. And then I really like Cyberpunk because of the imagination that went into these movies. Things that are happening they imagined these things 40 years ago, and now they're becoming real. Things like augmented reality or smartwatches. I went to Hong Kong, and that's almost like a perfect embodiment of this perspective. I was I need to move here. And it reminds me of old New York when I was growing up there. But it's better than a total cyberpunk thing, but it's very interesting nonetheless. I heard that Berlin, Potsdamer Platz, I saw a picture of the place, and that looks very tight. All the lights and everything in the glass. Some of my favorite directors are Quentin Tarantino, Wes Anderson, Alfred Hitchcock. There are many others. Sorry, I'm in an airport. It's kind of weird. Favorite books: Scandinavian Mysteries, modern American books, really show the history of America post-war and the morality decisions that are involved. Bestsellers because of pop culture. Like who's reading what and why. Encyclopedias because of my thirst for knowledge. My favorite magazines are High Fructose, which coined the term New Contemporary. I don't know if it's a real term, but it's really good art. WAD, which is a French magazine, Arts and Culture. I found in its back. Here in the U.S., we'd never find an Arts and Culture magazine in a convenience store, much less any magazine like that. National Geographic because of the photos and because of my thirst for knowledge. Inventory and Monocle because of their lifestyle and cultural coverage. I was going to open this store that was kind of focused on that, and I wanted to carry those magazines because they really embody a lot of what I'm into, just classic, simple, and elegant. TV raised me, so I hate when people say that TV rots your brains because it basically taught me what I needed to learn. When I had immigrant parents growing up in a working class neighborhood in New York, that taught me what the rest of the country was like, what society was like, and taught me the idioms and how to talk and everything. My favorite TV shows back then are like Seinfeld and Friends. Seinfeld's quintessential New York show, and then Friends, when I was 6 or 7, I wanted to be in my 20s. And that show really embodied all the fun that you could have when you're in your 20s. Cartoons are some of my favorite things. My two favorite cartoons right now are called Bob's Burgers and Regular Show. And they're not really for kids. And of course, you can do a lot of things in cartoons that can't happen in real life. Commercials, for frequency, like amount of commercials that they put out that are amazing, Geico. Because they're always funny. It's been more than a decade, and now they got to a point. They start the tagline, and they just stop halfway, and they're like, well, you know the rest. And people do, so it's a successful thing. But the one commercial that had a huge impact on me is Canal Plus. It's called The Bear. This bear is going around directing this movie, all aspects of it, and then the voiceover explains his motivation to get to that point. And you see at the very end, you should watch the commercial. He's a bear rug, and he's been watching TV this entire time, watching all these movies and everything. He realizes, hey, why don't I do that? And that is exactly my story, and that's where I'm coming from and why I want to get into advertising. I've had all these ideas and all these desires and never really had an outlet, and I think that this might be the perfect fit. In high school, people probably thought I was funny, a little odd, mysterious. I think that the old girls thought I was kind of cute, but I was largely oblivious to that until much later. Recently, I've been running into a lot of my old friends, and they have a much better idea of who I was back then than I do, so I guess it's a good thing. A secret, I'm going to get back to that because there's people walking by. Nobody would believe it if they heard that I qualified for Junior Olympics. I used to play hockey, soccer, and rugby, but I'm not very tall, so it might be surprising that I qualified for that. Okay, back to the secret. Now that those people walked by, I used to like eating goat brain when I was maybe like 5 years old, 6 years old, before I realized what it was. And as soon as I realized what it was, I puked and never ate it again. And I think it's a psychological thing because I think everybody else, whoever eats, they think it's great, but I can't bring myself to eat it. Worst thing that ever happened to me, it's kind of cliche, maybe not even true, but say it was a girl. It sounds kind of lame, but it was heartbreaking for me. On the other hand, it really set me straight. After that relationship, I started thinking about who I am, what I want to do, what I need to do to get there, and it really made me start moving and doing the work that I need to do to get to that point. I wasn't happy before, so now I'm doing what I need to do to make myself happy. And let's see. My favorite noise as a child was the sound of leather-soled dress shoes on the ground because they make it on cement. They make on like city sidewalks. They make a crunching sound when there's a very light crunching sound as the shoe makes contact with the ground, and I loved that sound. I wanted to make that sound, but none of my shoes. But I was wearing basketball shoes like boots. None of my shoes made that sound. And now that I'm an adult and I wear dress shoes, now I can make that sound with my own shoes. But I just realized I have a new favorite sound. I was in the South, and at night you start hearing cicadas, these large bugs. They have them in Japan too, and they make this sizzling sound. It's like shh, and it sounds like what the sun would sound like if the sun could talk. And it's hearing a new sound for the first time, and especially in a certain context, is it's just very memorable. One word to describe me would be zeitgeist, which might be wrong because it's a noun, not an adjective. But I'm spontaneous. I live in the moment. I love pop culture, and I love to just be with whatever's going on. I have a very sanguine personality, according to the 4 personality types. Alternatively, I'm very aware of history and context, so I can easily place myself in a different context, place myself in the zeitgeist of that era. So that's who I am. Thank you very much for your time, for watching this. This is an amazing opportunity, and I really hope it works out. I feel like I'm a good fit for Miami Ad School, and I even grew out my hair like Niklas, so that I might have a shoe in. So thank you for watching this, Danke, and auf Wiedersehen.